Yo, what's up, bony nasal septums? Welcome back to another Borderlands 3 video. Do you want some free V-Bucks?
Yes.
Well, you're screwed because this isn't a Fortnite channel, so no V-Bucks here. Anyways, today I present you guys with a new weekly series where we will be reviewing builds done by the community, aka other YouTubers, or maybe something we find on Reddit. I still don't really have a name for this series, so if you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. My reviews are going to be simple and to the point. I don't like dragging certain points to make videos longer, unlike what I'm doing right now, but you get the point. I'll be rating based on survivability, damage, amongst other things, and also along the way mention little things that I would change about the build. All gameplay that you're going to see is going to be in Slaughter Shaft, True Vol Hunter mode, Mayhem 3 with neutral modifiers, and I also want to point out that I do not have any Guardian ranks unlocked, so these builds will always work better for you than they did for me. Before we get into this episode, I want to ask you guys, if you guys find this video helpful in any way, shape, or form, or you enjoyed it, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you want, and let's get right into it. So our first build review is going to be Moxsy's Shock and All build. He uploaded 2 videos. So in his update video, he has a brainstormer with an anointment that deals 50% additional corrosive damage after action skill use. I do not have one of those, so in my case, I'll just be using a corrosive Linoge. Just clearing that up. I was looking at his equipment and his shield is actually amazing. I've never had one of these. He has a Zen recharger, has extremely good capacity, with a really short recharge delay and extremely fast recharge rate. On paper, it's probably one of the best shields in the game. Normally, I like to tell people that they need a transformer because you always get shot by zealots with shock damage and it just really helps. But just looking at the shield stats, the one he has is Zen recharger, I can tell is a really solid option. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on one of those, so in the gameplay you're not going to be witnessing what a Zen recharger can do. Instead, you'll be looking at the transformer. One thing I want to point out about this build is that reloading takes a little too long. To fix this, I wouldn't sacrifice any points in the skill trees to add to skills that give me faster reload, but instead I would use an Omni Loader pistol in my final slot. What this pistol does is every time you reload it, it instantly reloads all your weapons, so you don't have to reload all weapons. You can just reload them with this pistol. Right away, I noticed that his build is very similar to one that I use, but in my case, I do not put any points into infusion because infusion is kind of messed up, and when you're using a weapon that has an element that matches your action skill element, it kind of screws with it. But in his case, he just doesn't use an incendiary weapon, and he just uses a brainstormer with that shock damage, and it takes 40% of that and switches it to incendiary. So I was very surprised that he spec'd all 5 points into infusion, because that is going to turn 40% of his elemental damage into his action skill element, meaning that he will only do 60% of his original elemental damage, which in this case, shock damage. So every time I do a build around infusion, I only put like 3 points. But after testing it with his build, with Moxsy's build, it actually works very well. Shock damage still destroys shields just as fast, and you destroy enemies' flesh when using incendiary damage, extra action skill element. So all I can say is good job, Moxsy. This is very good. The rest of the skills on the skill tree I agree with. They're perfect. I wouldn't have them any other way. I also like how he didn't go overkill in the green tree. A lot of builds out there put a ton of points into the green tree to add to survivability, including one of my recent builds actually, but that was really aimed towards players that don't have good enough gear yet. So with the green tree, he just went straight for damage reduction from helping hands, which is perfect. Now for the blue tree, there is one little thing I would change. I would put all 5 points into do harm and remove the point from violent tapestry. And although violent tapestry is the better option to get rush stacks, we don't need that because we are already getting our max rush stack count with the Phaser class mod every time we use our action skill. So in my opinion, I think it's better to just put all 5 points into do harm to do max damage with our links created by ties that bind. Now in terms of damage, this build is a wrecking ball. I don't think there is much you can change on the skill tree to achieve more elemental damage. The crowd control on this build is exceptional, let me say that. The combination of ties that bind with stillness of mind is just perfect. I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I said, I didn't seem to have much trouble focusing the grasp enemies either, as the other ones were just held in place. I also think it's worth mentioning that this build is also pretty good against Grave Ward, even with Infusion interfering with incendiary damage. Obviously, if you get like a huge nerf to your like incendiary, obviously you're going to struggle, but with neutral modifiers, it was doing a very good job. Overall, this build is great for many situations. It has great TC and deals a lot of damage. Their survivability is great, and it is very accessible as there are not many specific items that you need for this build. So my final rating for this build will be a 9 out of 10. There's not much I would change about the build. I would 100% recommend you guys to try this build for yourselves, but in my opinion, there is no perfect build. This is probably as good as it's gonna get with an elemental Amara build. And obviously, when I rate other builds, they're going to be based on what the build is used for, because it wouldn't be fair to rate a build based on how much damage I was doing if the build's goal was to add more survivability. But yeah, this is going to end today's video. Let me know what you guys think about this format. I'm going to be experimenting in future uploads of the series, just fluctuating, so not all videos are going to be the same exact format, so just let me know your thoughts down below. And as always, this has been your boy Z Karma. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and obey. Until next time, Vault Hunters.